to get started. So good morning, everyone. My name is Kim Mabon, and I am the board chair for the Corona Chamber of Commerce and owner of Creative by Design. Today is a great day. We've got some important updates ahead, and we appreciate you taking time to join us today. I will be sharing the agenda with our 2020 board chair, Don Williamson. Donnie?
Thank you, Kim. Good morning, everyone. Today, our call is sponsored by Altura Credit Union. Altura is a community-based credit union here to successfully serve its members with all their financial goals. Altura's board members are local leaders who volunteer their time and are deeply committed to this community. Unlike a corporate bank, they understand the differentiating needs of the everyday individual. Thank you, Altura, for sponsoring this meeting and all the support you give to the Corona Chamber of Commerce. Kim?
Thank you, Don. As a reminder, please use the chat button to ask any questions. Send your questions to Chamber Host, and we will verbally ask the questions at the appropriate time. At this time, please welcome our President and CEO, Bobby Spiegel, for some updates.
Well, thank you so much, Kim. I so appreciate you sharing the mic with me today, as well as I appreciate all of you for being on the call. The Corona Chamber has a tremendous partnership with the County of Riverside. And on the slide that you see right there, we have masks and we also have sanitizer. The masks are in boxes of 50 and the sanitizers, you can pick up a box of 15. Those are 16.9 ounces for each bottle. Both of them are available at the Chamber. You can call us at the Chamber phone number there, 951-737-3350, or order them through our store, business.mychamber.org/store. I would like to just share with you about Riverside County. Yesterday, they created a new organization. It's not new to all of us, but it is the Riverside County Office of Economic Development. And what's exciting about this is that this is a redefined name for an organization that has been very helpful to us. On our calls, we've heard from Suzanne Holland as well as Rob Moran. This is their new name for their organization, and they are there to help businesses develop, expand, whatever it takes to do business, hire people. We're focused on jobs, jobs, and jobs. And that is what their responsibility is as well. And speaking of the county, I would like to just share that on May 8th, that's a Saturday, we've got a community cleanup that our supervisor is putting together. Location will be the El Cerrito Sports Park. That's right off of the 15 freeway and El Cerrito Road. Meeting there at 9 o'clock, and it will go from 9 till 11. We'd love to see as many people out there. They will provide bags, masks, cleanup equipment, etc. But come with a good attitude and have a lot of fun, be able to make the community look a little bit cleaner and better. And speaking of better, I just am so pleased to introduce our Vice President of Communications and Events here at the Chamber, Stephanie Shapiro, to provide you with something that we're doing as an outreach for our business community. Stephanie?
Thank you so much for that very kind introduction, Bobby. And I am so excited to share with you all about next week. We are celebrating Small Business Week. You can see the graphic on your screen right now. It says Unofficial Small Business Week because we're going rogue and we're doing something special just for our community. So over the course of the next week, we have 2 different ways that you can participate in celebrating our local small businesses. The first is we are going to have a Where's the Chamber contest. You'll see some photos coming up on your screen shortly where we have taken photos around town and we're going to be asking you to guess where the Chamber is. These are all local small businesses that we'll be highlighting, and you will be entered into a contest to win a variety of prizes, which I'll share shortly, just by guessing the correct locations where we are located. You'll notice in all of these photos that we have a card up that says, I'm here, and thank you for being a chamber champion, a community champion. Our small businesses are so important. So we're playing a Where's the Chamber game. So you get 1 contest entry for each of the correct ones that you guess, and we will be posting that throughout the entire week next week. The second part of Small Business Week is we want you to be involved as well in visiting our local small businesses. So if you go visit these businesses yourself, you'll get 5 entries into this contest. And for those, you'll use the hashtags Corona Chamber, and CC Small Business Week. By making sure that your post is public, we can find it and award you with those contest entries, and you'll provide some much needed exposure for our local businesses. Your location does not need to be private. We want you to share exactly where you are and about all the wonderful businesses that we have in our greater Corona community. So it's pretty simple. We've got 2 ways for you to enter, 2 ways for you to visit and share some love to the local small business community. We have a variety of prizes so far lined up. We have a $25 gift card to Eduardo's Mexican Restaurant, a $25 gift card to Burger Inn, and a $50 MasterCard donated by today's sponsor, Altura Credit Union. We are accepting more prizes, so if you'd like to promote your small business in this way, or your large business, please reach out to us here at the Chamber and we'd be happy to get you involved. Back to you, Bobby.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Awesome job. And again, what we're trying to do is elevate the shopping and the openness of the county of where we're having businesses thrive. And so please go out and share the love and post as soon as you can with the various things. So I really appreciate that. I would like to focus in on our Corona business news. It is our May-June issue, and that was mailed last week. All of you should have received it. And I'm very excited because it is filled with information of articles and announcements of various programs and projects. If you'd like to get extra copies, feel free to stop by and pick them up here at the Chamber. We'd love to give you some extra copies. There will be a couple of items that I am going to outline that are in the publication, and it's kind of a 90-day snapshot of what we've got coming up our way. Our Chamber will be bringing leaders in our region to you. The first one is on May 21st. The theme, Time to Reopen. It is part of our Good Morning Corona, but it is the state of the county put together by our speaker, Riverside County Supervisor Karen Spiegel. Great information that will be shared. And I did want to let you know if you do want to sponsor that, we'd love to have you do that. It will be both in person, which is outdoors, and a virtual. We will be at the IHOP. This will be the last meeting we have at the IHOP. As you flip to the next slide, it will be our State of the City, part of our Good Morning Corona breakfast. And that is with Jackie Casillas, the mayor of Corona. That will be in person up at Eagle Glen. And again, we have sponsorships available. Please register online. The bit.lys are on all these slides. The next slide is July. It is our economic forecast. We again went together with 3 chambers. It's the Chino Hills Chamber, the Yorba Linda Chamber, and the Brea Chamber. And the Corona Chamber is actually the host chamber. We will be up at Eagle Glen on Thursday, July 22nd. Very exciting to share that our presenting sponsor is United Paving, and there are sponsorships available. You can go on to the website. The bit.ly is Econ Forecast July 22. The next slide, well, not the next slide, but the next portion is the advocacy is a huge part of Corona Chamber. And today you'll hear later from Jeff Gibson, who handles all the research and information on proposed bills. As new bills become law, the Corona Chamber will continue to share new guidelines and regulations required by the state of California, as well as federal laws. The Chamber continues to provide you with the resources for prosperity. And again, I want to take this opportunity right now just to thank each and every one of you for being on the call, because you play a big part of being part of the Chamber of Commerce. Kim, back to you.
Thank you, Bobby. Anthony, do we have any questions for Bobby?
There are no questions.
Okay. Well, as I begin to introduce our next presenter on healthcare in our region, if you have any questions for this topic, please put those questions in our chat box, and the Chamber will ask them after the presenter is completed. Bob Blair is the Chief Administrative Officer for the Southern California Permanente Medical Group and is responsible for their strategy, operations, and performance in the Riverside area. He has had many roles in his time with Kaiser, including Senior Executive Leader, Regional Manager of Operations and Quality, as well as an Assistant Medical Group Administrator. Bob served on the Corona Chamber Board prior and has always been a big supporter of our mission in assisting businesses. Bob continues to support the chamber in our efforts to be a resource for business. Bob has a passion for diversity and inclusion and in mentoring and developing young leaders. Please welcome Bob Blair as he shared a few minutes to update us on healthcare in our region and at Kaiser Permanente. Bob?
Wouldn't you know, I'd get a call in that moment. Well, it's a pleasure to join you guys. Thank you for that very nice introduction. It really is a pleasure for me to be able to talk to those of you in Corona, and I hope your businesses are thriving post-pandemic. This has been quite a journey for all of us. I thought I would just give you some insight into what it's been. I mean, we don't have time to talk a whole lot about this pandemic, but boy, what a ride. When you think about just a little over a year ago, what we've been through, and it began, and I think the first surge, as we called it, was kind of almost non-existent for us to a large extent in the Inland Empire. But that second surge late last year was just absolutely crazy.
Yes,
we had patients in our hospital, ICU patients in departments all over our buildings. So we moved out of the hospital and had probably about 300% of our normal capacity. Over 500 people we had kind of admitted almost to home with COVID, and we're monitoring them remotely with remote technology. So the impact of the pandemic at a hospital was just, it's hard to even explain the impact that it had on the nurses and how difficult it was for families. So I don't want to minimize it at all. But more to the point today, we're in a wonderful place. We're ramping back up our services. I would want to call out your own Ruth Jaffe on the board for the Corona Chamber of Commerce. She is leading all of our vaccination efforts across Riverside County. We have vaccinated over 150,000 people in 2 months in Riverside County. So if you think about that, just think how challenging it is for Ruth and for the team. We're trying to ramp back up services. People really want to get back to their doctor and to having procedures done now that they feel safer and they've been vaccinated. And it's an extreme challenge to try to ramp up our services and at the same time try to vaccinate thousands and thousands of people. So we're doing that in 7 locations across the county. We hope to actually be able to almost double that volume by the end of May. And hopefully by June, July, we will get to the point where the majority of people who want a vaccine will be able to get a vaccine. One message this morning to all of you: I hope you're getting vaccinated. Don't not get vaccinated. 99% of my physicians have been vaccinated. I had a physician, we lost one of our physicians recently who for some reason had made a decision not to be vaccinated. So it is serious, hard to predict who's going to be impacted by COVID. It doesn't necessarily just limit itself to age groups. And so we just hope everybody gets vaccinated so we can feel comfortable getting back to work, opening your businesses back up. A couple weeks ago, I was going to say good morning, Corona. I'll say good morning, Corona today, and just talk about innovation. And it's I guess a message of inspiration to you all. Throughout this pandemic and just in general, I would say we tend to define innovation by technology. And while technology is exciting and there's all this new stuff coming at us, there's artificial intelligence, there's wearable devices, there's all this exciting stuff coming, I would encourage us to remember that innovation happens because human beings have wonderful ideas. Human beings identify workflows that meet the needs of a business. And then we take those ideas and we bring technology to bear to help us solve and move those things along. But it's about people. So, invest in your people. Innovation happens first with us humans, coming up with really good ideas and then figuring out how we can apply technology. And that's what we're doing here locally. So many incredible things have happened as a result of the pandemic in terms of our ability to really use technology to deliver healthcare. If you see Ruth Jaffe, thank her. 150,000 vaccines is a lot in 8 weeks. And she's not on the call today because she's working out a deal to expand our capabilities to a mall out on the east side of Riverside County. So it's a pleasure to meet with you guys. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I think I used up my 2 minutes, Bobby.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Blair. Anthony, do we have any questions?
We actually have a handful of questions for Mr. Blair. So the first being, what will be the future of healthcare?
So it's interesting, you're definitely going to see, I think, a shift to more virtual care. I think what we've got to be careful of, though, is making sure we meet patients where they want to be met. I think when we went, when the pandemic started, we went from about 15% virtual care, meaning telephone appointments, video appointments, to probably 90% virtual care. And during the pandemic, that was fine. People were grateful to be able to call in and get care on the phone and not have to come in because they were fearful of coming into a hospital and being infected. I think as we come out of the pandemic, what we're seeing is we're offering, depending on the department, a lot more virtual care, but there is a lot of demand for face-to-face care, more than we can even accommodate in the short term, because there's this glut of people, I think, who stayed home for a year and now they want to get back in and see their doctor. And that, combined with vaccination challenges, is really going to be a high pressure for us until probably early summer. But I think you're going to see more virtual care. I think you're going to see technology change dramatically over the next few years to allow us to do more at home. So just think, if you were at home and you could wear a device that would tell us your lab results, or we could report, you know, the government's allowing us now to have you report your blood pressure to us so that we can capture it. That it didn't used to be legal for us to capture the blood pressure from a patient. So there's lots of things happening that are going to allow us to do things more virtually. But I think as businesses, we're going to have to make sure that we do that and meet our patients' expectations about virtual versus face-to-face. I think that's the biggest change. Other questions?
There are two more questions. The first being, is there any bona fide study that supports the mandate for wearing masks, especially outside?
You know, and so I'll speak personally about this, so I'm not speaking for Kaiser Permanente, but just for myself. I think, you know, for many, many months before we were all wearing masks, we talked about washing our hands and practicing good hygiene. I definitely think washing your hands and getting used to not touching your face is probably more important than anything else. However, it definitely has been demonstrated and proven that not wearing a mask can result in transmission of COVID to other people. And where we saw that in our medical center quite often is and you know, you could debate, was it the mask or was it the hands? I mean, I guess we don't know, but we had a lot of transmission from people's families to themselves. And in many cases, the common thing that resulted was two people being in a car together, not feeling like they touched anything the same, but they were in a car and one got COVID from the other. So I definitely think that wearing a mask until we get enough of the population vaccinated is a good thing. What you're really trying to do is protect other people if you haven't been vaccinated. Increasingly, as we've all been vaccinated, I think the need to wear a mask, in my own opinion, probably not as important. But we are following the recommendations of the CDC and the recommendations of the County of Riverside. I appreciated hearing that Karen's going to be speaking to you guys. We have a great relationship with the county, and I think it's important for us as healthcare leaders to support the county guidelines and the California Department of Public Health guidelines on what we need to do to be safe. And I think it gives people confidence. And if I was to say the most important thing about that as a business leader, you want people feeling comfortable about coming back to your business. And so even though many people probably are irritated by the mask, there are those people that are going to be more comfortable coming to your business because you support them wearing a mask or encourage it. That'd be my response. We want to make everybody feel safe and comfortable coming back.
Thank you. And the last question is, do you foresee Kaiser expanding more in Corona with new infrastructure and more jobs?
You know, interesting question. I mean, we're expanding all over the county. I mean, right now, our major focus is in, we're building a new surgery center out in Moreno Valley, and we're building a new surgery center in more medical offices in Murrieta. What that really does is it expands our capacity in Corona, because we have patients today that probably come up from South County into Corona. So when we expand our operations and provide more care and service in South County, we will naturally increase our capabilities and our capacity in Corona. The other thing that's hard for us to figure out today, so to get to your question about more people, more staff, is what virtual care will do. Because as we become more virtual, we will not require as many offices as we did in the past. We will be able to expand our care outside of the traditional doctor's office, which will allow us to expand. I would suggest that we will have more doctors, more employees in Corona. We might not have more space. So whether we will need more office space quickly is anybody's guess. We're trying to get our arms around in a virtual world, what does it do to your capital footprint? And do you need more capital, or can you get more out of your existing capital footprint because now people are able to deliver medical care on a video link or on a telephone? So I think 6 months from now, a year from now, I'll know more, but we continue to grow out in Riverside County. We're growing faster in Riverside County and San Bernardino County than any other area in the Southern California Kaiser Permanente region. So as we grow, we hire more people, we have more staff. And so the answer would be yes, and depends if you're talking capital or people.
Thank you so much, Mr. Blair. There are no further questions.
All right, thank you so much. And I hope everybody is successful at ramping up, and let us know how we can support you. I'd love to win the $25 gift certificate to Eduardo's. I miss it. I got to get to Eduardo's for lunch. So thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Blair. Donnie, what else do we have going on?
I think, as everyone knows by now, each month we have an incredible partnership with the City of Corona, and we sponsor something called Coffee with an Entrepreneur. And each month we have someone who come in to tell us about their struggles and give us tidbits of their experiences to help all of us, kind of share what they went through and help us what we're going through in our businesses. Well, I'm really happy to say that on Monday, May the 10th, we've invited Crystal Lopez to be the speaker. Crystal is the founder and owner of Carter Bradley Insurance Solutions, an agency offering a wide variety of comprehensive insurance coverages. Her emphasis is on providing solutions that protect families financially, especially children, during the most trying and often unexpected situations. Tragically, at the age of 17, Crystal lost her father to a drunk driver. The mental, emotional, and financial avalanche of this event was, of course, devastating. Through her hard work and determination, she used that loss as a motivator to help other families avoid the hardships that she went through. There is so much more about Crystal. We are excited to have her with us and look forward to hearing what she has to say. I know Crystal's on our chamber board. She's an amazing individual, and I would like to learn how she got to be a successful insurance operator that she is today. A Coffee with an Entrepreneur is offered free through a great partnership, like I said, with the City of Corona. Please consider registering using the link on the screen right now. I look forward to having you all be there and hear Crystal Lopez. Kim, back to you.
Thank you, Don. That sounds great. As we begin our segment titled 3 Questions, I want to remind you that if you have questions for this topic, please put those questions in our chat box, and the chamber will ask those after the section is completed. Before we begin with the 3 segments, let me share that our moderator, Jeff Miller, was voted by our chamber board of directors to be our chair for the Legislative Action Committee, which oversees these weekly meetings and our advocacy outreach. Jeff has an impressive background. He formerly served our community in many roles, including as Corona City Council member for 8 years and mayor of Corona. Jeff also served the state of California as an assembly member for 4 years. He worked both sides of the aisle and has been the author of many common sense bills. He is a small business owner with his own insurance practice for 45 years. Through his various experiences, he truly understands a business owner's needs, concerns, and troubles. Jeff has been a key member of our legislative outreach, assisting the Corona Chamber to be at the top of its game, and as chair, he will continue to assist. Congratulations, Jeff, and thank you for your commitment to volunteer to help the Corona Chamber. Today, Jeff will host Chad Miller on today's meeting. Through no relation, they have shared a passion for excellence, business growth, and a variety of other topics. Chad Miller is the president and CEO of Industrus, Inc., which was established in 2019. Prior, Chad was heavily involved with his other family business, American National Manufacturing, for many years. Industrus is a contract manufacturing and consulting company offering engineering, research, and development and more. Chad is also an inventor and has filed 2 patents. Chad serves on the Corona Chamber Board of Directors and brings the manufacturing aspect to our meetings. He has also served as one of the judges of the most recent Innovation Month competition held in Corona. He is enthusiastic and truly an amazing entrepreneur. Jeff, take it away.
Thank you, Kim. It's great to see you all. Thank you for coming on to the call for this interview. It's an honor to be able to do it. So with that, I'd like to welcome my former colleague, former mayor, council member, Jason Scott, who's on the call. Thank you, Jason, for jumping on.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
In addition to, I won't elaborate too much more on Kim's introduction, but in addition to being an inventor, Chad also helps other people that are trying to file their own patents and protect their products. So he also does that. And as Kim pointed out, he's a member of the chamber, but he currently serves on the Legislative Action Committee. He also serves on the Industrial Fabrics Association's Exhibitor Advisory Committee. And most importantly, he's married and has 2 stepdaughters and a son with his wife, Jeanette. More importantly, he has a great name. But like Kim said, no relation. So with that, Chad, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Many of us on the call are familiar with Chad Miller and American National Manufacturing, but some might not know the details of how your company was started, why you moved to Corona, what kind of products that you manufacture and manufactured. Can you share some of that information? And again, what were some of the reasons you moved to Corona?
Sure. So our family is heavily known, of course, my entire life for being in the consumer sleep industry. My father started a company in the 70s making waterbeds, and with the innovation involvement, of course, adjustable firmness air mattresses came to be. And then with that, we segued into the medical market. So we actually have a consumer bed line with our family business, American National Manufacturing, as well as the medical side to treat bed sores. And so I still am involved over there. I still have projects over there. We moved to Corona. We originally started selling our beds out of the swap meet in Costa Mesa back in the 70s. So that's where we originally started from. More excitingly, and a newer thing that happened is we were hired by the guy that invented the waterbed about 8 years ago to relaunch the waterbed called the Afloat. So that's where my excitement comes in, is innovating new products. So I enjoy it. It's a passion of mine. We moved to Corona way back then in the, I think it was the mid to late 80s, I believe. And we left Orange County because we found that there was a better workforce, a little inland, much better environment for business, a lot less regulations with the city. Anaheim, where we were located, really, when you reached 100 employees, you had a lot of burdens, regulatory burdens that came upon you, including like transportation. We had to provide transportation to employees. So we had a lot of struggles, and we just found Corona to be, in the Riverside County, to be a better place to locate our business, more cost effective, more business friendly. So that's why we moved out here back then.
And it looks like behind you, you have a whole bunch of sewing machines.
Correct. So our companies, both American National and Industrious, are comprised of basically 2 types of equipment: sewing equipment and sealing equipment. So if you think of industrial fabrics, which you mentioned I'm on the maker's board for, is any industrial textile. So everything from luggage to curtains to fabric buildings and structures to, you name it, industrial fabrics. You're probably sitting on a chair right now that has industrial fabrics on there. You drove a car today that had industrial fabrics in it. So industrial fabrics are everywhere. So we use our equipment to take industrial fabrics and fabricate products either sealed. And when I say sealed, I'm talking about like your pool inflatables that have seals on this side to hold air in or keep water out, or water bladders, things like that. So our factory is equipped with that kind of equipment, and it spans into all kinds of industries: automotive, medical, aerospace. We do a great product for private jet aircraft beds, which is why I started Industrious over here, is to develop a better production line for our aerospace products that we manufacture for like Gulfstream and Cessna and all those great companies that use our products.
Fantastic. That's great. So it's no secret that last year was quite challenging for our business community.
Why, what happened?
How did COVID affect your operation? What were some of the obstacles that you encountered? How did you overcome them? And what does the future hold for Chad Miller and the Miller family?
Well, some exciting stuff, some not so exciting stuff, and some exciting stuff. So let's talk about last year. Last year, actually, for my company, for both, on both sides, on the American National side, I speak for them first, is the need for medical products was, of course, as you can imagine, just unprecedented. So the products that we make and rent were in high demand. As far as on industrial side of the fence here, we had to reinvent ourselves. We actually, we had to kind of change our production layout. We actually took some money that we had saved up and invested in a new production line, making some gowns. We got into a couple of very large contracts to supply PPE. And we did, we did set up and run production. So we were very busy. However, we had struggles, like you mentioned. Some of our struggles were we couldn't get enough people to man the equipment that we just purchased and put in place. And then there was a learning curve. So we actually had to ourselves learn. We bought new equipment, sonic sealing, which I've never done before. We do radio frequency sealing, completely different. So sonic sealers they look like sewing machines, but they aren't. There's no thread. They do a seam using a sound wave. So if you have a sonic toothbrush, that high pitch, that high vibration that you have, that's kind of what that machine does. And so we had to learn new equipment. We had to hire new people. We had to train those people. So we invested a lot in equipment and training in order to do and stay busy and keep work. But what happened is we had such a hard time getting workers to come in. A lot of people were afraid to work. A lot of people were being paid to stay home and they didn't need to work. A lot of people didn't want to learn something new. They were afraid to come in and be exposed in a manufacturing plant, just like our heroic frontline workers, our medical staff in hospitals. They're working more hours and exposed. And so there was just a lot of obstacles and struggles. Today, I actually have a greater struggle where I've had to shut my business down recently because there's a nationwide shortage of foam. I have this big order for a military order I can't produce because that storm we had in Texas shut down a factory that makes the chemicals that's used in pouring foam. And so we literally had to send all of our folks home if we had, any foam product right now. So we've had to, I've heard that, you can't change the direction of the wind, but you can certainly adjust your sails. So I feel last year and this year, we've had to learn to adjust those sails to positions that we never knew we needed before. So going forward now, some exciting things that are going to be coming is one of the things that I enjoy doing is developing new product, learning about new technology, whether it's a fabric like phase change, which is going to be used, it's currently used in our consumer sleep products now that help adapt to the temperatures when you sleep, heating up and cooling down. So phase change fabrics are great, but there's examples like that lend itself to create new products or find new applications for it. And that's what I have a passion for. So an opportunity has come up for me to continue to pursue developing our own product. There's been a big slowdown of companies spending money to consult to hire us to develop their own products for them. But we do have a lot of our own products that we can continue to innovate. So I'm going to be kind of putting a new innovation hat on and working on developing some new products and growing the product lines that we have now, and then continuing to look at emerging technologies, emerging things out there that can be used to make new products. But we do have a lot of equipment, a lot of products that we still do. So that's kind of where we see ourselves going forward, is continuing to innovate and do what we do better. And not only that, but continue to grow in what we do. Maybe more product offerings, find other needs that don't exist. And I have a lot of companies that have hired us to consult for them that have some emerging products that we are excited to be part of. One that's COVID related that came out of the Ebola scare a long time ago with a negative pressure room that goes on a gurney that's exciting. It was in the news. So I got to be part of that project and a whole bunch of other exciting things. So I'm looking forward to continuing to work on projects like that. There's just so much that we need now, and someone's got to design and make it. So that's what I like to do.
You know, when you and I originally talked about the foam shortage, my first reaction was, well, why don't you just go overseas and get it? I'm sure it's made somewhere else.
Yes, you can get it. However, because of the bulk and how lightweight it is and the cost of logistics, it's just, and I mean, it would take me 4 to 5 to 6 months to get it over here right now. So there's other challenges that we have on the logistics side that just doesn't make it cost effective or timely at all.
One product that's made in the USA that serves its purpose for our USA company.
Absolutely.
Okay, so lastly, one of the many things our chamber does, and one of many good things our chamber does, is advocate for legislation that is good for business, helps create more jobs. Can you tell the membership here on the call how important it is that the chamber be involved in this, and what can the city and state do to encourage more manufacturing in California?
A great question. So I've been involved with the chamber, I mean, for a very long time, and on various committees, as you know. I think that, you know, for me, I think the members need to understand just how valuable the legislative committee and what we do on the legislative side. I mean, we moved to Corona, as I mentioned earlier, is because we had regulations that were imbalanced and difficult for business to work with. So I think having a city to where businesses want to come need to do just that. They need to be aware of what the city offers them, what the county offers them. We've had many cities come and try and move us out. And I think it's important for businesses to know on the legislative side, you know, I'm a pilot. And when I do a briefing on the ground, just because I took a briefing on the ground of what the weather's going to be like and moved to Lake Havasu, doesn't mean that when I get in the plane and take off that the circumstances are the same. And so a wise pilot, you know, even though you might have software in your computer and you have your updates, but you don't know, you have to look out the window and look and see what's coming. And you can't rely on just what my phone call I made on my weather briefing said. And I think on the legislative side of things, you have to see what's coming. You got to see where our state's going, where your county's going, where your city is going, so that you can make good decisions, so you can be aware. But you don't want to be caught in the middle of a storm that you didn't know was coming. And I once heard at one of our meetings in Sacramento that I went to was that, you know, if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu. So I think it's very important for businesses to know that the chamber is there to help represent them in their industry, whether it's a restaurant industry or the medical industry or the manufacturing industry. They help me to be aware. They make me be a better business person and make better decisions because they have a forum by which I can both hear and be heard. And I think that's so critical. And I think that businesses that aren't taking advantage of that are doing themselves an injustice. Furthermore, whenever I have an issue, whether it's HR, whether I need a building, or whether I'm looking to employ people, you know, the chamber helps in solving my problems, and they're a resource. And whether it's training and upskilling myself or my team, and the partnership that the chamber has with the city, all these things are just so important for the environment for you to run your business. And so I'm truly blessed to be able to be in Corona and Riverside County. And, you know, there's so much to say for our chamber and our city and our county. And I'm excited to see that the county's has this new department to focus on attracting businesses. But one thing, to answer your question more directly, Jeff, on what they can do is the county can be aware and the state can be aware of, there are certain things I have to apply for. Like, for example, if I'm innovating in R&D, there's R&D tax credits you can get. I've applied for them twice and wasn't able to get them. There are certain things that you can self-certify, and there's certain things that are processes. I think that having some assistance in that process to identify the programs that you have to apply for that are kind of a burden. I mean, our CFO had to get involved in certain things. So if they could streamline the processes by which we go and apply for incentives to innovate in R&D here and take tax credits opportunities, it's kind of been a difficult process. So, and it's a lot of time consuming on our part with higher level executives to be involved. So that might be one suggestion I could have, is kind of make that a little simpler process.
Wow, you know, Chad, we could go all day. I could listen to you all day. So informative. Before we get into questions, I just want to ask one, take personal privilege and and ask you, there's a lot of companies moving out of California. We've always said that it's akin to the death of 1,000 cuts. Can you, from your perspective, how aggressive are other states in attempting to lure you out of California to their domain?
Very aggressive. When we would exhibit at the MD&M show, medical device show, we would have cities and states come to our booth, walk up and down and say, hey, we've got land, we have grants, we have tax incentives, we have all these things. We have, for every employee you hire, there's an incentive that we'll give you. And so there's so many privileges. I actually have been approached by Arizona, just all kinds of states, cities, and counties that have approached us to ask us if we were interested in looking at building our factory or having an operation elsewhere. So they are very aggressive with all kinds of incentives.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Chad. I'll throw it back to the chamber for questions and then back to Kim to move us on.
Thank you very much, Jeff and Chad. Anthony, do we have any questions?
We have one question. Chad, you mentioned suggesting processes to R&D. It is difficult to realize this when many good-natured people working at a government job, they have knowledge as a business owner and headaches and owner experiences. What can you suggest for the agencies to help in this process?
Probably there's a lot of manufacturing events and things like that we have. Maybe to be involved a little more with the companies that are kind of forward facing. I know there's a lot of we have Fender here that's doing a lot. I would say that being involved in I know that we had a manufacturers, a group that we got together, having that and being involved in that, since there are so many manufacturers, there's over 400 in Corona alone. I mean, I don't know the number in Riverside County. I know it's extensive, but there are things like that were done if they were involved in things like that. And I think that would be a great way to connect the two together on the government side versus the business side.
And we actually had one more question come in. You expanded to Texas. Did you find it to be any benefit at all?
It was and it wasn't. There was kind of, there's a lot of, Texas is a great place to go. What we found is, although that you found a lot better pricing for real estate there, commercial real estate and residential real estate, costs of services were much higher, as well as labor. And the reason is because the labor there, we were paying about 25% more in labor expenses because you had such a massive need for workforce and not enough supply. And so we were finding that we were paying about 25% more for the same job code that we would out here. So although we saved in one area, we kind of lost in another. So we ended up moving out of Texas and relocating a distribution center into Missouri.
Thank you so much. There are no further questions.
Okay, Chad, thank you so much. That was just so informative. And like I said, I think we could keep going here. But with that, Kim, I'll turn it back to you, and it's all yours.
Thanks, guys. Our pleasure.
Jeff, and thank you, Chad. I know I toured both of his facilities, one during the Executive Leadership Roundtable class, and they're both impressive. And Chad, like everybody is saying in the chat, is always coming up with new ideas and ways to innovate. So it's definitely someone to connect with. All right, Donnie, what do you got for us?
These calls are so interesting. I really enjoy spending the time listening to Mr. Blair and Chad, and then just everything Bobby told us today. This is a benefit of belonging to the Corona Chamber of Commerce. These are the kinds of outreaches we do. We have a staff working every single day for our business community, and these calls are to help empower and educate our members. And this is just one of the many things we do. If you are not a member, or if you have someone or a business that you're aware of that should be a member to take part of the many things that we offer to our business community, please contact our member specialist at the Corona Chamber of Commerce, Robert Yanez. Robert can explain the packages that are available and all the things that you get out of this. I hope you were listening to Chad talking about the chamber just a few minutes ago and all the benefits he's gotten from it and how he has relied on it throughout his career. We serve a regional landscape. We're not just for the Corona, we're not bound by any geographical boundaries. So if you're on the call or if you know someone, again, you please outreach to Robert, give him a call and come on down, join us, take advantage. The more members we have, the more impactful we are, and the better we can help each other. We're growing, and we want to make an even bigger impact, and we need your help. So please contact Robert Yanez today. Kim.
Thank you, Don. At this time, we shift to our advocacy segment where legislative advocate Jeff Gibson will share. Jeff keeps a pulse on what's happening in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. Actually, doing this can be a full-time job. With Jeff Gibson, through my apologies, through a complete research, he helps Corona Chamber to act timely on projects and initiatives that help make a difference in shaping our community. As owner of Occidental Communications Group, Jeff Gibson takes a 40,000-foot view on most proposed bills, then dissects them to our level and how we as business owners and managers will be impacted by these proposed bills. His knowledge of complex political issues and the great relationships he has ensure that the chamber has the tools necessary to be effective on behalf of the business community. Please welcome Jeff Gibson to share a legislative update. Jeff?
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate it. And yes, I've taken the tours and worked with Chad for a number of years, and he's a great advocate for our community and an incredible innovator. So congratulations, Chad, on your success. So today we are in the 11th year of our adventure of trying to explain how the costs of employment are affected by Sacramento and Washington, D.C. This evening, the president will outline a $1.8 trillion plan, which he is dubbing Free College, which will affect about 6 million college students in the United States of America. That's roughly $250,000 per year per student that's affected. It will wipe out any college costs for community college the first 2 years of non-traditional college. But if you have a student in a four-year school, if you have a student, former student, a graduated student that has student loans, none of that will be affected. About 1.5 trillion of that is going to go into oversight of a $1.8 trillion program. To give you an idea of how big $1.8 trillion is, see the door slammed. $1.8 trillion is larger than the entire state of California economy. It is more than the federal government spent in the year 2009. So we're talking real money. So we will be tracking that for you in the state of California, where, like we talked about last week, just like every other state in the union in 2009 and 2010, implemented the Affordable Care Act, which eliminated the cost of insurance, healthcare insurance, or was billed as eliminating the cost of healthcare insurance for every American. Obviously, that did not happen. When we put large, intractable issues into legislation, there's often unintended consequences. Obviously, the cost of healthcare has not gone down precipitously over the last 12 years, as we had expected with the passage of that bill. And so we gather here today to oppose AB 650 by Assemblymember Al Murat-Suchi, Democrat from Torrance, which is going to put in a permanent requirement on healthcare providers that they pay $6 billion this year and more in additional years in what's being billed as combat pay or a bonus pay for having served their employer during the pandemic. And under no circumstance are we in any way saying anything but positive things about people that stepped forward, maintained their positions during the pandemic, and served in hospitals and in healthcare facilities. They did a heroic job and saved hundreds of thousands of lives. No one is calling that into question. There is a system in which we set up long ago, say about 5,000 years ago, in which they were those people who did that heroic work were compensated for it. If they worked overtime, they were compensated for it. We as a chamber have willingly stepped forward to feed them and to give them other benefits because they deserve it for their good work. Putting into legislation an idea that above and beyond all of that compensatory and protective and award level compensation, that they're entitled to an extra $6 billion, and that whenever the governor declares an emergency, healthcare workers would then have the opportunity to take advantage of that funding again. And usually there are about 100 different emergency orders that are issued, unfortunately, by the governor in any given year. Often they are overlapping. Many times they don't have to do with a healthcare issue like a pandemic. This can become a real problem for what may be well-intentioned legislation, but because it's permanently on the books, it becomes a permanent carrying cost for all of our friends in the healthcare industry. And very shortly through that, as we have seen in the past, when one industry suddenly is under requirement to pay things like this, in year 2 and in year 3, all workers suddenly become available for this. So this is where we come today with an opposition. The Cal Chamber has listed this as one of their job killer bills. The assembly member actually took some amendments that in my opinion did not make the bill any better. And so this is why we come to you today with a request for opposition. And I'm happy to take.
Before we have a motion and ultimately vote, Anthony, are there any questions?
We have one question, and it is, what is the likelihood of AB 650 passing?
So the likelihood of it passing, unfortunately, is fairly strong. The governor has been signing a number of these pieces of legislation, especially as the recall qualifies to be on the ballot. And so this is something that we are definitely going to be working hard against. One of the things, if we haven't discussed it recently, we talk about there's a lot of chambers that take positions on hundreds of bills. There's about 1,150 bills that go through the legislature every year. And we choose bills in which we think we can be effective. And on this bill, I am confident that that our voice can be heard and effective in defeating this bill, or because it does have a fiscal impact, keeping it out of the budget, which is always a struggle as well, that most people don't think about, where we put, instead of just paying the bills as you're supposed to in a budget, you put things on from your wish list in your budget. And just as that does at home or in your business, if you are paying things that you wish to be true, along with things that you know you have to pay, then your budget has to go up. Well, on the government side, we kind of just believe that policy doesn't have a cost. Obviously, this has a cost of about $6 billion. It's going to be borne by employers who are coming out of easily the worst economic interruption in American history. And so, yeah, so it's better than 50-50 that this bill passes. It's going to be a very, very tough fight, but we need to engage in it because it's important.
Thank you so much, Jeff. There are no questions.
Okay.
Okay, at this time, I'd actually like to call on Robert Blair for your input on this bill, considering that you're one of our local healthcare leaders.
Okay, so Bobby knows I always try not to comment on legislative issues just because I'm representing such a large organization. So to a large extent, I'm speaking personally, but I think I represent healthcare leaders across our country, not just here in Riverside. You know, I think we pay people very competitively. Throughout the pandemic, we did our very best to pay people, if what Chad referred to as I'm not sorry, Chad, but you just talked about battle pay. We paid a ton of battle pay. People were getting paid a lot of overtime. You guys were wonderful in terms of helping feed people. I think there's been great support for our healthcare workers. So these are obviously bills that are being pushed to our legislators from union organizations that want to increase the amount of money that we pay people. And it's becoming increasingly difficult for us as an organization to survive and thrive because we believe that we pay people very competitively today. So in my opinion, this is unnecessary. It's going to increase the cost of healthcare. It's going to make it cost prohibitive for businesses to be able to offer healthcare to their employees. So I fully support, personally, the opposition to this, and I hope it does not pass. I think unfortunately, people get caught up in the swell of, oh, these poor guys taking care of all these sick people. We get paid to do that. We pay people competitively. We're grateful to be able to take care of you all and your families. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. All right, at this time, I would welcome a motion to oppose AB 650.
I know there's people out there. You have to unmute, guys.
Support.
Go ahead. Who's making the motion? Is it Jeff Miller? Seconded by Pete. Are you the one that seconded?
I think in a rare moment, Bobby, I did. That's scary.
You did, Bob Blair. Thank you.
I can if you need me.
So the motion, Kim, is to oppose, and it's been moved and seconded. You can take the vote.
Okay. Is there any further discussion before we vote? All right. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of opposing AB 650, please say yes.
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 All those opposed to our motion of opposing these bills, please say nay. Are there any abstaining? All right, the motion carries and the Corona Chamber will go on record opposing AB 650. As Jeff mentioned, please reach out to your local representatives.
Thank you, guys.
Green now. Do you have any more, Jeff?
Nope,
Or is
that
it?
was it so far. I'm sure we will have more fun next week.
Okay. Again, thank you, Jeff, for guiding the Corona Chamber and our membership in these legislative issues. Don?
Thank you, Kim. I would once again like to thank today's sponsor, Altura Credit Union. They provide accurate, consistent, and personalized service with every interaction every time. And and they're so good to our chamber. Sometimes when they sponsor our events, they give us cool stuff like these little aluminum mugs and various things. And they're really a great member of the Corona Chamber of Commerce. And to learn more about them, please look at alturacu.com. Kim.
Thank you, Don. I'd also like to personally thank Altura Credit Union. They recently gave $500 in perishable foods to Giving 365 to help us establish a food pantry at Park Ridge Elementary. So they are very active in our community. If you would like to sponsor a future business briefing, please contact the Chamber. Register now to join us next week for more advocacy news. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Our meeting is officially adjourned.
Thank you, Kim.